Hello Nidorinas and Nidorinos, I'm KingNido and today we come to you from Veilstone City where the Breakers have finally broken their losing streak and they're looking to get their second win in a row, but to do so they're going to have to take down the Castelia Pinchers, who are holding on tight to a spot in the Leaders 8 as they have never made Victory Road and they are looking to make their debut in the postseason this time around. But with all that said, let us know in the comments below who you think is going to win this matchup. Will it be the fighting types? Will it be the bug types? Let's go!
3, 2, 1, go!
And starting this match off, it is Araquanid alongside Venomoth, as Venomoth with the Twister connects with both Conkeldurr and Hitmontop, who responds with the Flamethrower onto Venomoth, getting some super effective damage there, as Conkeldurr is going to follow it up with the Peck, continuing with those super effective moves, except going for Araquanid, who is going to respond by setting up the Cotton Spore early on here. This is going to lower that speed a great deal of both fighting types, trying to give full speed control to the Pinchers, as Venomoth is going to go for the Mystical Fire onto Hitmontop, bringing its own fire type moves, lowering the special attack of Hitmontop in the process. Araquanid does go for the Muddy Water follow up here, again connecting with both members of the fighting type team, but it's the splash from Hitmontop. Unfortunately, nothing is going to happen, which is great for the Pinchers, but Conkeldurr looking to do their part with the wing attack, takes Venomoth out of this match, continuing those super effective moves to give the Breakers the early lead. It is Vespiquen though coming out for the Pinchers. It is exerting that pressure over the Breakers, and they are currently feeling that as they are in 17th place. It's the Mega Kick though from Araquanid, so that gets that critical play to take Hitmontop out of this matchup. Vespiquen follows it up with the Thunderbolt onto Conkeldurr, getting in some good damage there and leaves it with that paralysis. It needs to shake that off. It may be unable to move. It's definitely going to slow it down. However, it does shake it off, going with the Razor Shell in response on Vespiquen, getting some good damage, lowering its physical defense in the process, as the Breakers are going to send out Hitmonchan, who does take back speed control, trying for the Encore though, which is unfortunately going to fail. This allows Araquanid to try and capitalize with the Aurora Veil, but it is not snowing in Veilstone, so that also fails. However, Vespiquen trying to do their bit, goes with the Wave Crash. It will get the recoil damage, but it gets in a massive hit there onto Hitmonchan. However, Conkeldurr is going to respond by going with the Lunar Dance with that paralysis, and knowing that it'll become an easy target, it is going to sacrifice itself, and out in its place it is going to be Politoed, the Terrestrial Drafty. With that Drizzle ability, it is going to start to rain here in Veilstone City. And the Pinchers now trying to build a bit of momentum. As we said though, the Breakers were finally able to end their 6-game losing streak, and they're trying to get a bit of redemption and move their way back up the leaderboard, as Hitmonchan goes with the Volt Switch. Super effective, but it doesn't actually do that much to Vespiquen, who is going to chow down on their Staff Berry. It is going to boost their special defense. As well as that though, Hitmonchan is going to return to the bench, and in their place it is going to be Toxicroak entering this match, as Politoed follows it up with the Supersonic onto Araquanid. This is going to leave it in a confused state. It needs to be careful, otherwise it will be doing damage to itself. It needs to shake this off, as the Pinchers still with the lead. However, Araquanid unsuccessful, does hurt itself in its confusion. This leaves Vespiquen needing to lift its game, going with the Jaw Lock, getting some good damage for a not very effective move there onto Toxicroak, thanks to that critical play, making it so neither can run away, but they are not looking to go anywhere, as Toxicroak responds with the Mud Slap, but that is not going to work on the flying type Vespiquen. This leaves Politoed though to go with the Wrap. It is going to squeeze Vespiquen tightly here, putting it into knockout range, and it will be getting that passive damage, but Araquanid still in a confused state. This time it does shake off the confusion, going with the Avalanche. They're getting in some good damage onto the Terrestrial Drafty. Vespiquen goes with the follow-up beat up. This is going to connect 5 times, as there are 5 members still remaining on the Castelia Pinchers. And whilst that's happening, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, make sure you subscribe so you never miss a bit of action in the PokeType League VGC, as that wrap is going to start to take effect there on Vespiquen. It is not going to be in this matchup much longer, as the Psycho Cut from Toxicroak ensures that's the case, taking Vespiquen out of this matchup, leveling the playing field with 4 Pokemon remaining on both sides. And now it's Politoed going with a super effective Volt Switch onto Araquanid. It's going to go back to the bench, but Hitmonchan's going to return, and it is going to capitalize on the effects of that Lunar Dance. It is going to be restored by that Mystical Moonlight, taking it back up to full strength, so that Conkeldurr's sacrifice is not in vain as Araquanid snaps out of its confusion. It goes with the tackle, getting some good chip damage there onto Toxicroak, but Toxicroak is going to chow down on its Citrus Berry, so it does restore its health here as it doesn't want to become an easy target. And now the Pinchers are going to send out Masquerain with that Intimidate ability, but the inner focus of Hitmonchan prevents it from having its attacks that load. Toxicroak, not so fortunate, does set up the Reflect on the side of the Veilstone Breakers, making them stronger against physical moves, but it is Masquerain responding by going with the Matcha. Gotcha, it is going to connect with both fighting types, but it's not very effective there onto Toxicroak. However, it does leave it with that burn. That is going to cut into that physical attacks that even more, as well as that passive damage. It's the attack order from Hitmonchan, getting some good chip damage for a not very effective move onto Masquerain, as Araquanid setting up the Acid Armor, and it has been in this matchup since the very start, boosting its physical defense a great deal. It is such an easy target right now, as Toxicroak beginning to feel the effects of that burn is going to go with the Tickle onto Masquerain, looking to lower those physical stats, both that attack and defense. Now Masquerain, being much more specially based, is going to respond with the Vine Whip, not doing much damage whatsoever there to Toxicroak. This allows Hitmonchan to try and capitalize by going with the Thunderbolt. They're super effective onto Masquerain, but this opens the door for Araquanid to go with the Strength Sap, and it was such an easy target. It is going to drain that attack stat of Toxicroak to restore its own health in the process, almost getting itself back to full strength as the rain is going to stop in Veilstone City. There is that burn continuing to chip away at Toxicroak, a very intelligent play by Araquanid, who's on the receiving end of a hard press that does practically nothing there from Toxicroak. However, it is the Poison Touch coming into play. This is going to be chipping away at the health of Araquanid as Masquerain does respond with the Blast Burn onto that burnt Toxicroak to take it out of this match, and the Castelia Pinchers have taken back the lead with the 4-3 advantage. Hitmonchan, however, does go for the lick, putting Masquerain into knockout range, and it leaves it with that paralysis, so that's now going to slow it down and it may be unable to move. However, Masquerain is going to chow down on its Lancer Bear. It is getting pumped with the Pinchers in front as Araquanid going for the stored power. Super effective there onto Hitmonchan, getting some good damage, but there is that poison starting to take effect on that recently restored Araquanid. And it is Politoed returning to the field with that Drizzle once again coming into play, so it starts to rain here in Veilstone once again as the Ice Beam from Hitmonchan does practically nothing once again to Araquanid. However, with full speed control, Politoed is going for the Nuzzle, taking Masquerain out of this match. We are back to a level playing field. It's 3 Pokemon remaining on both sides. However, Araquanid, with an opportunity, goes for the Smoke Screen. It is going to lower the accuracy of Politoed here, and if it cannot land its hits, it cannot get eliminations, as that poison is still draining the health of Araquanid, who is now going to be joined by Lurantis. The Castelia Pinchers sending out their own Terrestrial Drafty, looking to bring its own physicality with that 105 base attack for the Castelia Pinchers, as they are looking to stay inside the leaders 8. Again, they want to make it to victory road this season, but Hitmonchan has other things to say, going with the Sing, and who would think it would have such a melodic voice, as it does put Lurantis to sleep there on the field. This allows Politoed to follow it up by setting up the Reflect. However, unfortunately, that is going to fail, as Lurantis is snoozing away there on the field. Araquanid, needing to do its part, is going to go with the Shift Gear. It is going to put it into full gear. It wants to take back that speed control, but in the process, it's going to boost its own physical attack as well. But that poison still taking that toll on Araquanid here, as the Reflect does wear off for the Breakers. Araquanid, with that speed control, goes for the tackle, getting some good damage there onto Hitmonchan, but Hitmonchan does respond by going with the Mean Look onto that sleeping Lurantis. Surprisingly, it can see it as it can no longer escape, and it is Politoed following it up with the Ice Spinner. It does get some good chip damage there onto that sleeping Lurantis, who is still snoozing away, leaving Araquanid to have to contend with this poisoning. But again, it does have that speed control back for the Pinchers, going with the Whirlwind. They are going to send Hitmonchan back to the bench and being dragged out is the last Pokemon for the Breakers. Hariyama entering this match, as Politoed is going to go with the Fairy Wind onto Araquanid, not doing that much damage here, but Lurantis has finally awoken, and it is going to go with the Blizzard. but that's going to be avoided by Hariyama, and it's going to be avoided by Politoed as well. But what's not avoided is Araquanid being put into knockout range by this poisoning. However, it is going to go with the spit up, but it's not going for a stockpile, so unfortunately this is going to fail. This opens the door for Politoed to capitalize by going with the lash out. However, Lurantis is able to get out of the way of that move. Hariyama, looking to do its part, goes with the charge beam onto Araquanid, and it has finally been eliminated from this match with that super effective move, putting the breakers in front. Now the plain ice from Lurantis onto Politoed, and it is going to lower that physical attack as the rain is going to stop here in Veilstone once again. And it is Vivian as the last Pokemon for the Castelia Pinchers, immediately going with the disarming voice, super effective onto both fighting types, but it doesn't actually do that much damage. However, it is going to cause Politoed to chow down on its Enigma Berry, so it's actually going to restore more health than damage it took, as Politoed does respond as well with the cut, trying to cut the bugs down to size. But again, Lurantis avoids another move from that lowered accuracy. Politoed, Hariyama with the Cotton Spore though onto the Castelia Pinchers. It's going to lower the speed of both Lurantis and Vivian, trying to give the speed control now to the Breakers, as Lurantis does go with the Shadow Punch onto Hariyama, getting some good damage. But Politoed does go with the Power Swap, focusing in onto Lurantis here, and intelligently switching those attack and special attack stat changes that have occurred. The Wonder Room as well from Hariyama, it is going to make it so everybody's defense and special defense stats are swapped, as Vivian with the Drill Run onto Hariyama gets in that critical play as well. Lurantis does follow up by going with the Reflect type, but it's already changed itself into a Bug type, and that is going to fail. This opens the door for Politoed to go with the Hammer Arm, but again, Lurantis avoids a move from Politoed, leaving Hariyama to have to do the heavy lifting. It tries for the court change, but there are no entry hazards, so that is also going to fail, as Vivian trying to capitalize, going with the Haze. It is going to make it so everybody's stat changes are eliminated now. Lurantis is going to go with the charge, so it is going to begin charging power here. But not just that, it's also going to boost that special defense that's base and 90. Vivian taking back speed control with the Mud Shot, putting Hariyama into knockout range, lowering its speed, and we just got our first time when, if we go into overtime, as that Land Spirit is chowed down on by Hariyama as it's getting pumped. The Leech Life onto Vivian from Politoed, not very effective restoring its health, but as I was saying, if we go into overtime, all remaining Pokemon will be restored back to full health with their items, and it will become a singles battle, as the Poltergeist from Lurantis is going to fail. Hariyama looking to capitalize, going with the Feather Dance. All these stat changes coming back into play as that physical attack is lowered for Vivian, who does go with the Mountain Gale onto Hariyama to take it out of this match. It is down to a 2 versus 2 contest. We know Hitmonchan will be re-entering as we get another time warning. The Air Cutter though, super effective onto the Bug types. Vivian barely holding on after that critical play from Politoed. Lurantis is going to chow down on its Enigma Berry. We saw this earlier. It is going to restore its health. Vivian is also going to chow down on its Citrus Berry, restoring its own health. And Lurantis is going to go with the Leaf Blade, concentrating on Politoed before Hitmonchan returns, getting some good damage. It is going to be Hitmonchan though that we said returning to this matchup. Vivian with the triple kick. This multi-hit move is doing practically nothing to Politoed with that greatly lowered physical attack. Politoed is tanking these 3 connections, and this is great for the Breakers as we are into our countdown. The Supercell Slam from Hitmonchan takes Vivian out of this match. We are running out of time, and Lurantis is all by itself. Politoed could capitalize, going with the Night Days, getting some good chip damage, but Lurantis is going to respond with the Mean Look onto Politoed. It needs to get an elimination, especially if we do go into overtime. It doesn't want the 1v2 contest, as the Wonder Room does wear off. Hitmonchan is going to ride that Surf, connecting with everybody on the field, but it doesn't actually do that much damage. Politoed is going to go for the Power Swap, not going on the offensive. This is fantastic for Lurantis. We could be going into overtime. It needs to hold on. It goes with the Charm, and it will not get an elimination, which means we are going into a 2v1 overtime between these two sides. And being restored back to full health, it is going to be Lurantis going face to face with Hitmonchan. Politoed will be on the bench, and again Lurantis is going to be terrestrializing into that bug type. They will have their berries back as well, but this singles battle to determine our winner in overtime here in the PokeType League VGC between the Veilstone Breakers trying to climb their way up the leaderboard and the Castelia Pinchers trying to stay in the leaders 8. The Seed Bomb from Hitmonchan getting him some chip damage with that not very effective move onto Lurantis. Lurantis does respond by going with the Charm, and it just did this at the end of the matchup, lowering that physical attack of Hitmonchan. Base 105, a great deal, but it responds with the Brine, continuing on the offensive. But it is Lurantis going now with the Mist, so it is going to shroud itself here in this Mist. But it is Hitmonchan still going on the offensive, getting in this chip damage, this time with the Shockwave. Lurantis continuing to set up, going with the Substitute. It is going to cut into its own health to put that Substitute doll in place. Hitmonchan needs to get off the field, going with the Supercell Slam as the Substitute doll does take the damage here for Lurantis, and it does stay in place. Lurantis finally going on the offensive, does respond with the Vacuum Wave, not doing that much damage however to Hitmonchan, who does look to respond by going for the Fire Pledge. This is super effective on that Substitute doll, and it is going to take that damage, finally fading from this matchup. Lurantis needs to go for something big because Politoed is still on the bench. Lurantis with the growth continuing to boost these stats. Now it's boosting its own 105 base attack as well as its special attack. Hitmonchan is continuing with the offensive, going for the Psy Strike though, putting Lurantis into knockout range. Lurantis does go for the Iron Defense, continuing to set up. Now is not the time, you are all by yourself. Hitmonchan keeps bringing the action, no longer protected by the Mist. Hitmonchan with the Shadow Claw takes Lurantis out of this match with that critical play for good measure, as Lurantis just went for the setup here in overtime, and Hitmonchan continued on the offensive, chipping away with those jabs at the terrestrial draftee. And in doing so, the Breakers have moved themselves up into 15th place, as next round they are going up against the Spike Myth Rockets. Whereas for the Pinchers, for now, they stay in 11th place, but next round they will be going up against the Sutopolis Aqua. But until then, Nidorinos, thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below who you thought was the best on field. And if you enjoyed what you saw, please leave a like, share, subscribe, but more importantly, always remember, you are awesome, and I'll see you when you see me.